Welcome, everybody, and welcome to the February 15th, 2024 Lake Forest Plan Commission meeting. My name is John Dixon, and I am chairman of the Plan Commission. Before we start this evening, I'd like to make a special warm welcome to our newest commission member to my far left, Paul Thomas, who's joining the commission this evening for the first time. And with that, I will ask the commission members to introduce themselves, starting on my far right.
Barrett Davey.
Mark Pasquazi.
Jamie Moorhead.
Louis Pickus.
Lisa Neary.
Paul Thomas. Thank you. And from the City of Lake Forest staff, we have Miss Kathy Cernak here tonight. The next item before the commission this evening is consideration of the commission minutes from the November 16th, 2023 meeting. Are there any comments, questions, clarifications on the minutes? Hearing none, do I have a motion to accept the November 16th, 2023 meeting minutes?
Motion to accept.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The first matter before the commission this evening is consideration for a request for a special use permit for a Starbucks with a drive-through on the southeast corner of Waukegan and Everett Roads. At this point, I'd like to ask commission members if there's any conflicts of interest or ex parte communication in this matter.
Nope.
Seeing none. At this time, I'd like to swear everyone in who thinks they might want to speak either in support or opposition of this matter or any other matter that will be here on the agenda this evening. If you could please stand where you are and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that and state that the testimony you shall give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Great. With that, I will ask the petitioner and their team to come forward to the podium for their presentation. I see Mr. Jack Frigo here. Welcome back, sir. Nice to see you.
Chairman, it's nice to see you at my home away from home.
Right,
And
right.
yours as well.
It's Groundhog Day all over again. Although
I hope with different results.
Right.
All right, I would like to just make sure I've got this. There's only one image. Okay, great. Okay. Well, as you can see from the plan, we have removed the apartment building, and we're focusing our attention on the corner, which used to be the BP station. The property has been vacant for about 15 years. We'd like to build a Starbucks there. We've had really productive discussions with Starbucks. They would like to be there. They've approved this plan and the circulation. What I'd like to do is point out a couple of things on this plan. We have, it's very, say, pedestrian friendly, and it's also vehicular friendly. We have turned this site from 7 curb cuts into 3. The first curb cut will remain the same. That's the southernmost curb cut on Waukegan Road. There's a right-in, right-out, which is the same as our previous plan and presentation. And we've closed the 4 curb cuts that used to serve the BP station. And then Mr. Iosu's property at 1025 West Everett, we've expanded that from 2 lanes to 3 lanes. So there'll be inbound and outbound to the right, and as well as a left turning lane and then an inbound lane. There's a corner element here which is not designed yet. As you know, we hope, and the city hopes, and IDOT hopes that the Everett Road will be widened, and we've made provisions for that in the way we've laid out the building, and also subdivided the property in a way that intends to convey the expansion property to the city, which is right there at the north end of. The pedestrians can access this property from the public walkway, which is right here, into the site there. They can also go from the 1025 West right there. And then Our plan is to look at this development in the future at some point after we have the Starbucks underway and everybody can see how the site circulates. And then we'll work on a plan which will develop this so it'll become productive again. Are you getting feedback? It sounds like I am. Let me stand over here. But we'd like to develop this property. Mr. Ios has owned it for a number of years, and we'd like to make it productive, but fit with the quadrant development. So we've read the staff report and Kathy's write-up and recommendations. We agree with it 100%. So there's no items in there that I think need further clarification. This evening, Nick Patera, our land planner, is here. I think it's good, Kathy, yeah. And Mr. Iosu is here as well. But we're happy to respond to any questions or comments that you have.
Let's see, I'll turn it over maybe to the city to explain your report, please, Kathy.
Sure. This project, or this property has been before the Plan Commission a number of times over the years, 3 or 4 at least. And this project is back before you now with a proposal for incremental development, only for the Starbucks and the double drive-through lane. Over there?
We're dealing with some AV issues here, but go ahead, Ms. Cernak.
The Starbucks has not been the subject of most of the controversy that has resolved around this overall project. The concern has more been the scale of the proposed development for the south portion of the property. The petitioner has decided to move forward with Starbucks. Conversations with Starbucks have been ongoing for quite some time. I believe that the Starbucks lease for the other location on Waukegan Road may be close to expiring. As a community, I think it's important that we keep Starbucks in that Waukegan Road Settler Square Business District. The city engineer has reviewed this plan. It is consistent with prior approvals from IDOT for the 3 access points, the one closest to the Starbucks being a right-in, right-out. Final review and approval by IDOT would be required. The city engineer does support this plan, does support the double drive-through, concluded that the circulation has really been improved with the 3 lanes at the east entrance. We just lost our view. At the east entrance, east side of the 1025 Everett Road property. Approval of this does not offer any guarantee of exactly what would be approved on the south portion of the property. Any development proposed for that portion of the property would need to go through whatever city reviews are required. The Starbucks, the landscaping, the hardscape, the signage, the lighting will all go to the Building Review Board for review, and then the recommendation from the Plan Commission as well as from the Building Review Board will both be forwarded to the City Council for their final action. You have detailed findings in response to the general special use criteria and the special use criteria for drive-through specifically detailed in your staff report. I would be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, so at this point in the meeting, I'll see if there's any clarification, comments from the commission members, either to the petitioner or the staff.
I have one question.
Commissioner Pasquesi, please.
For staff. What's the status of the Everett Road expansion, and do we have any idea on a timeline of that?
It's going to happen, we know that. We are waiting for some grants. Phase 1 engineering has been completed. We know the overall design of the intersection. We know where the lanes are going to be expanded, but no, I cannot sit here tonight and tell you exactly when. I can tell you that city engineering staff is working on this very diligently, and as soon as we can move it forward, we will.
Thank you.
Any other question? Yes.
Question
Commissioner
for the-
Vasquez.
Question for the petitioner. Looking at the site plan, I see there's a little sliver of property that is gonna be deeded over to the city for
Yes.
the expansion.
Yeah, at the north
correct?
end of
I
the
remember
property.
mentioning
Correct,
that
yes.
before. Is that a for sure thing? Are you gonna do that whether this is approved or whether you're able to fully develop this property or not, or is?
Yes, yeah. That's Mr. Rios who owns the property. We met with Kathy early in this process, actually when we had proposed the coffee shop and a medical office building. But we had also met with IDOT and the city. And it seems that that's an important improvement. And so as we laid out the site, we wanted to make sure that the coffee shop complied with the new, say, the future configuration. So once that property is deeded to the city, we still comply with the setback requirement. So that's a long answer to your question, but yes, it does, whatever happens, Mr. Iosu wants to, participate and cooperate with the city to help make that improve the area.
Can I ask a follow-up question to that question?
I'll grant it this one time.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Commissioner Pickus. I appreciate that. But to follow up on that, can we make a condition of the special use permit that that property, if and when the IDOT expansion happens, would be part of this discussion to the city to
You
grant
could,
that?
it would be more appropriate to allow that. That would be something that the city engineer would require when he reviews the final site plan and prior to issuing the permit. So that will automatically happen. You can certainly include it as a condition of the special use permit.
And just to elaborate a bit, as Richard Sugar is our attorney, and he has ordered the survey that subdivides the property in anticipation of that. So that lot, we have a legal description which meets your and the city's and IDOT's requirements for that. But yeah, we've been very cooperative in that aspect. So however you want to handle it, we're good.
Thank you, Mr.
I
Figueroa.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Commissioner Nguyen.
Yeah, I had a couple of questions. One question that I had is the back page, it was just meant for our reference, right? Like if this is approved, because the back page is what was previously done with the other site and all that stuff and their dimensions and all that. I just wanted to be careful that by us approving it didn't mean, oh, now we've approved this back piece.
Correct. I provided the last site plan that was presented to the board in November to the commission, simply for reference. Your action is not on that. I do also want to note that although through most of the pages of the staff report, I correctly identified this as the southeast corner. In the recommendation, I incorrectly identified it as the southwest corner. Just wanted to point that out. Thank you, Mr. Frigo.
Sorry, I had a question for the petitioner too, actually, a couple of them. If you look at the back, the previously plan that you had, when I'm looking at the 1025 building with the drive, you've expanded it on the very front one to say that it was 36 feet, but on the back one, it said it actually was only originally 25 feet. So are you actually taking out your shrubs, or, I'm just confused how all of a sudden it got
At the
bigger.
curb cut? At the curb cut you're referring to? Yes, we actually are taking out a 50-year-old locust tree and expanding that so we have sufficient room to make that 3 lanes.
Okay, perfect. I'll just keep going back. I have a question for Ms. Nuriak. In terms of 1025, now the lane that goes through, and actually it'll probably bounce back to the petitioner, it's only 9 feet wide for each thing. And, in terms of the lane, is it gonna expand and make that wider? Cause like it opens up to 36 feet where it's got the 3 lanes, or are they gonna stay as 9 feet and 9 feet? I didn't know who to
The
ask.
answer is yes to
Okay.
both of those points.
Okay.
Yes, it's 18 feet wide, curb to curb. It's really sufficient room for 2 cars or a car and a truck, and we don't have the image here, but there's a car going one way and a truck going the other way, and there's really sufficient room. It's worked that way for many, many years. At the time and so it's going to remain at 18 feet. immediately east of the building. However, when we develop the southern portion of the lot, that will have increased traffic. And so we anticipate widening that lane to the west by 2 feet. So instead of being 18 feet, it would be 20 feet. And that would accommodate, we think, just more graciously the flow of traffic, because we'll have more traffic ultimately when the south parcel is developed.
Okay, and then, just one quick question, well, actually two, like on the drive-through, as it's going through the drive-through, I know that's not a wall, it's just gonna be some type of, like, curb thing in the middle of it to separate those
To
lanes?
separate, yes, and then they merge into one lane, yes. That's right.
The other question was, and I think I probably missed it, what were the hours of operation for the Starbucks? What were gonna be the
4:30 in
hours?
the morning, the same hours that they have in Lake Forest right now, 4:30 in the morning until 8 in the evening.
Okay, I didn't know, sorry. I think that's all I've got for right now, thank you.
Commissioner Thomas, do you have any questions? No questions. At this point, is there any public testimony on this matter? Anybody in the audience that wants to speak on this Starbucks proposal? Seeing nobody come forward, there were several, or two correspondents, I think, that will be admitted into the record. Is that correct, Ms.
That is
Cernak?
correct.
Okay. Any other final questions, either from commission members, the petitioner, or the city? Okay, at this point, the testimony and comment period is now closed. At this point in the process, we have discussion, comments with just the commissioner members here. I'll start on my far right, Commissioner Davey.
I don't have any more comments on this project.
Commissioner Pasquale?
You know, I think based on the challenges of this site, this is an acceptable plan to me. I think I can get behind this. Certainly doesn't address the southern portion, but I think it allows us to approve this and then address whatever their plans are for the south portion whenever that comes. And that could be advantageous or maybe not so to the petitioner, depending on how this all goes with Starbucks. And I think we'll get a better feel for the traffic flow, you know, how that affects the immediate neighborhood and any of the other concerns in a way that approving the entire site at once would have been more difficult. So this is kind of an easier compromise for me to accept.
Thank you, Commissioner Pasquale. Commissioner Moorhead?
I'm inclined to support it. It appears to satisfy the criteria for the special use permit. And my feeling is that on the zoning board, we've had a couple special use permits come back from time to time to be tweaked as activity unfolds, and this may need to come back at some point to, bless you, to be tweaked. But that's fine. Excuse me, that's fine. That's what we're here for. So,
Okay.
no, I'm inclined to support it.
Thank you. I would just add a question to maybe the city that I should have asked a minute ago. But the remaining portion of the site, you mentioned it. Can you just address that, Kathy, the part that's not going to be developed, what's been proposed, and what the city is recommending, and maybe what the petitioner is willing to do for this site? The southernmost portion of the site. And the reason I ask the question is because comments have come before the commission, not only this evening, but they've come here previously as to this site and the duration, not necessarily because of the petitioner, but the fact that it's been vacant for so long, sort of an eyesore, and as we've noted in our long-range planning, that this is the gateway on the southern end into the city. So can you just talk to that,
Sure.
Kathy?
There will be some improvements to the circulation, just to acknowledge that you will be able to get to the Starbucks and to the 1025 building from the southernmost entrance. The rest of the site we will require to be level graded and certainly kept free of weeds. There is a recommended condition. As I mentioned, the Building Review Board will review this project, and we are recommending that the Building Review Board be directed to consider fencing, landscaping, or a combination of both for the Waukegan Road frontage, so that we're softening that vacant look a little bit over time, while not creating the image that this is a park for the long term. I think that could be a dangerous approach as well. So, if you feel it's appropriate, that condition would direct the Building Review Board to be sensitive to that Waukegan Road street frontage.
Thank you. That's the only comment I have, but like has been previously stated, I find myself supportive of the proposal here. Commissioner Pickus.
I'm also in favor of the petition. I think it's meets the criteria as described, and the fact that they're going to deed property to support the expansion of Everett Road will only help make the property work better. And I'm really excited to see that corner get developed finally.
Thank you. Commissioner.
I'm in agreement. I think the owner has really been working with the city and everything and really trying to do the best for everybody. It has not been like, well, no, I'm not gonna do that, not gonna do that. They're willing to work, and if they arise that there are problems that they see are not working, I fully believe that they will take care of that and they will fix that. And again, it does have to go through approval of a lot of different other boards. And I do think that that helps, because then it can get tweaked, as other commissioners have said.
Commissioner Thomas.
Yeah, I'm also in agreement. I've spent a fair amount of time reviewing the history of the site and the history of this project and the challenges involved, and I think this is a good outcome, so I'm supportive of it. I'm also very supportive of the condition that you proposed. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Okay, thank you. At this point, do we have a motion for the special use permit for a Starbucks with a drive-through on the southeast corner of Waukegan and Everett, subject to the site plan presented and the recommendations outlined in the staff report, including the support of the IDOT support of what changes may come there, and also the fencing and vegetation planning along Waukegan Road. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Frigo. The next item before the commission this evening is consideration of a tentative and final plot of condominium to allow each condominium unit in the building now under construction at 715 and 719 McKinley Road to be held in separate ownership and to identify common and limited common areas. No changes to the previously approved site plan or building are proposed. At this point, I'd like to ask any commission members if there are any conflicts of interest or ex parte communication in this matter. No. Seeing none. Maybe at this point, I would turn it over to the city and ask Ms. Cernak to explain what exactly final plot of condominium is and the process for approval for that.
This is really a formality. Legally, the Plan Commission and City Council must approve a plat of condominium to allow individual units within a building to be sold to individual buyers. That's always the intent of condominiums. The plat of condominium does not change any of the prior approvals that have been granted with respect to the site, the building, the landscaping, the lighting, the exterior materials. The plat of condominium that you have in front of you does have multiple pages. It shows the garage and identifies limited common areas such as stairways and driveways, and the individual units. You have the garage floor, the first floor, the second floor, and the roof plan. So again, it's a formality. You did approve plats of condominiums for both buildings 1 and 2. Once this is approved, or with your recommendation, we would then forward your recommendation to the city council. With their approval, we would move forward to record this. All of the units, as I understand it, are under contract. So once this is recorded, the units could actually be sold. Each of these units are being customized, so it is important for those owners to really begin to move forward. I will note that plats of condominium cannot be approved at the time the overall development is approved, because they actually need to be prepared based on once the base building is constructed, because they specifically identify what is owned by the individuals. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions from any of the commission members? Is there any? Yes.
Question is in terms of the roof. Does everybody have access to that, or is it only the people on the second floor? Because that's what it looked like, and I was just curious on that.
I might just, we can,
Is that not a question?
we can
Oh, sorry.
talk about that, but that's not part of the plot of survey. I mean, you can,
There is a plat for the roof, and the roof areas are only accessed by the units immediately below. There is not general access to the roof areas.
Just curious.
thank you. Any other questions
No.
in regards to the plot? None. Any public testimony here this evening in regards to this plot of survey? Seeing none, we'll close the public comment period on this matter now. Looking to my left and looking to my right, I might just say, do we have a motion for the approval of a tentative and final plat of condominium to allow each condominium unit in the building now under construction at 715 and 719 McKinley Road to be held in separate ownership and to identify common and limited common areas subject to the final approval by the city staff and all fees being paid in full? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The third and final item before the commission this evening is consideration for a request for a tentative and final approval of a 2-lot subdivision of the property at 195 East Onwensia Road. A variance from a lot in depth minimum lot size is requested for the purpose of preserving historic landscape features. At this point, I'd like to ask commission members if there's any conflicts of interest or ex parte communication.
No.
Looking to my left and right, seeing none. At this point, I will ask the petitioner to come forward to the podium for their presentation. And take your time, we're getting set up here with the audio-visual.
Is that your first one?
Yep.
Okay. Keep it moving so it doesn't go dark.
Okay,
Every now and then. Just
okay. Thank you.
move the
If you could state your full name, please, sir.
My name is Nick Patera. I'm the planner on behalf of Matt and Nicole. They're here. They're the owners of the 195 Onwensia property. They live down at the end of the block at the west end, and they've become familiar with this property just because they've walked their dogs, walk with their kids, and they've come to find this is an incredible opportunity to raise their family in this home. The property, some of you may have seen it, is a fantastic 3.8 acre piece of property on East Onwensia. It has on the south side of the road. What we've done is looked at what we can accommodate as a lot in depth. It certainly has the square footage and acreage to allow for a lot in depth parcel. The rules for the lot in depth parcel require a 66,000 square foot property in the absence of the stem that leads to the property itself. That could be done, but the important and unique factor of this property has to do with the character of the landscape. I was, in very simple terms, blown away when I walked into this property. It's a phenomenal garden, and Jens Jensen signature elements are part of the characteristics of this property. It's been taken care of meticulously by Allison Wren-Goltra, and it is, as I know, a number of Jens Jensen properties I've worked on all the way from Evanston up to Lake Bluff. This one's top-notch. And so what we really wanted to do here is not slice the back part of the property off and accommodate a 66,000 square foot lot in depth, but to be realistic and say we want to keep this garden intact with the 195, the Eisler's home, and still provide a reasonable lot in depth parcel in the back that would be 60,000 square feet and change, exclusive of the stem that goes to the Onwensia. For those who haven't seen the property, there is on the east side of the property a drive that the former owners had, and it's just a grass corridor. So drive might be a little, it's not a paved surface, but it was the way that maintenance could get to the rear lawn part of the property. I want to show you what's a blurry image here, but Nicole Eisler brought this image. If I can bring something forward to show you. I'm going to be off microphone, is that?
I think that's,
Yeah.
that's fine. Petitioner's coming forward with a historic.
This is historic, I'm okay off microphone.
Yeah, that's fine.
1928, Peabody family commissioned Jens Jensen and his son-in-law, Marshall Johnson, who had studied, they were down in Ravinia, working on Dean Avenue in their studio there. And this was the landscape plan, so that the house in this 1928 plan is located here. There was an addition put onto the house by Stanley Anderson almost at the same time it was built, in the 1928, 1930. The driveway was somewhat straight. The lane that goes through the property comes back, and it keeps on going back. What the property ends somewhere over here, at 3.8 acres. So this plan didn't have, call it the utility aspect of what you would see if you went out there today of the back lawn, but it did have what Jensen had as a clearing and a lawn with plantings around it. This was all part of the experience that you would have walking through this property, in addition to the spring and the pond elements that are up front, the fantastic peony garden surrounded by dogwood hedge, and then the big open lawn. So there's every one of the tricks in the book as Jensen designed things, including a council ring, formal garden, and so on. So. Now that I'm done presenting this.
I would say to the,
But-
when you can, please go back to the podium, because it's,
I turned that off. So the imagery that we have here shows basically the lot in depth. Existing in the rear lawn area. We put a landscape buffer around all four sides of the rear lot area, that bright green area, and I just put a sample home in there to say that there's an ability to accommodate a home. The Eislers don't want to build this, they want to sell the property to a market buyer for the property, but keep their home and their grounds intact. This would be that sample home with 50-foot setbacks around all four sides. You can see the drive that we're bringing in along the east property line. There's an interest in providing the image on the far right has landscape screening, so we don't have headlights going to the neighbor's property to the east. That there's additional plantings that are provided there all along that driveway, but this was the one gap area where we needed to fill it in because the lawn of the adjacent property comes up to that east property line. So the idea is to bring a 12-foot wide driveway through to serve the rear Lot 2 onto the property. This exhibit, I'm not sure if you got to see this in your packet, but we have shown what would happen if you did do a 66,000 square foot lot in depth. It would slice through those two back lawn areas, the clearing and the lawn that were on this historic image. But the idea of what we're proposing keeps the clearing and the lawn intact, and it also keeps the connector. There's a limestone sidewalk that was also on that 1928 plan that keeps it intact, and we're still able to get a 60,000 square foot lot. This is specifically unique to this property. I don't think it's applicable to other properties because of the historic landscape aspect and the fact that it's completely intact and been loved and maintained. So we have a preliminary plat and a final plat of subdivision included in the packet, and I'd be happy to answer questions. I kind of ran through a few things here, but if you would like, we can go back and answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Pinter. I'll turn to the city for identification of any issues that the city sees with this proposal.
Thank you, Chairman Dixon. This is, I know that you've all visited the property, and this is a very unique property. It is located within the city's Green Bay Road Historic District. It's also in a unique area. All the lots along on Wensia Road are very deep, and lots in depth have been, I would say, common. Lots in depth are rare in many parts of the community, but as you go up and down on Wensia Road, you see a number of lots in depth because those lots were so deep. Directly across the street, a home is nearly being completed on a lot in depth on the north side of the street. The variance requested is not because the requirements of the code cannot be fully met. They can be fully met. This property is 3.8 acres. As Mr. Patera said, the minimum lot size is 66,000 square feet for each lot, exclusive of the driveway to the rear lot. What's proposed here is a very large front lot. You have the exact number actually right in front of us, 97,940. The rear lot, as proposed, exclusive of the driveway easement, is 60,483. As Mr. Patera showed, the dividing line between the two lots could be shifted to the north, and lots in full compliance could be achieved. The only variance being requested here is from the minimum lot size for the rear lot. The setbacks on the rear lot, whether the lot remains as currently proposed or whether the lot line is shifted to the north, the standard setbacks for a lot in depth, a rear lot in depth, are 50 feet on all sides. And the plan as presented abides by that 50-foot setback requirement. So whether the lot is larger or smaller, that the buildable area will still be located in the same area with respect to the south side, the east side, and the west side. In addition to the 50-foot setback, a 30-foot landscape buffer is proposed on all sides of the property. That would require that, although the buckthorn could be removed, vegetation of the same density, Mr. Patera would know better than I, but something like a dogwood with low density as well as taller canopy trees would be maintained. The unique aspect of this property is so unusual that in staff's opinion, it does meet the criteria for a variance. You have findings detailed in your packet, assuring that the views in those lawns on the south side of the house retain that termination with vegetation and with the contoured vegetation lines really is critical to preserving the overall character and unique aspects of this, again, as Mr. Patera said, amazingly intact historic landscape. The Goltras were very careful stewards of this property, and time came for them to move on, and I know that they have spoken directly with the new owners, and I think have transferred this with the intention that those garden elements will be continued to be carefully stewarded over the coming years. So you do have a recommendation in your staff report for approval of both the tentative and final plat. The reason we're bringing tentative and final plat to you together is because in this case, with the tentative plat, normally there needs to be a detailed engineering plans. We may have new roads, we may have extension of utilities. That's not the case here. There are no public improvements. You do have some conditions of approval recommended. At the time, the rear lot is proposed for development. Historic Preservation Commission review of the building design, exterior materials, landscape, hardscape, and lighting would be required. And in the conditions, we suggest that particular attention be paid to the landscaping on the east side of the driveway, perhaps to slow, with the intention of slowing traffic, but also with the intention of mitigating any headlight impacts on the property to the east. I will note that property is currently on the market, so we don't know at this point the future of that property. Again, you do have a recommendation in support of the request for variance and the tentative and final subdivision plat, and you have some recommended conditions of approval. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions or requests for clarifications from any commission members, either to the petitioner or to staff? Starting on my far right.
I think you actually answered my question, which was going to be about the possibility of moving the lot to the north, but the impact, it seems like, on the stone pathways and those two southern rooms in that landscaping plan, you know, seems like a pretty significant hardship in the context of what is being requested. So I guess, no, I don't really have any questions. Just
No questions.
I'm just curious, do you know what was going on with the rear property in 1928? Because it doesn't appear that it's on the plan that you're showing. Was it part of the original property, and did it have any particular use?
I think it was part of the original property, but it was just considered a utility area. The reason that the lane exists, the grass lane, is they didn't want to bring a mower through from the formal auto court of 195. You come down through that grass lane and then come into it from the back. That garage, and I haven't talked to the Goltra family about the use of it, but it was considered to be utilitarian in purpose. The connector between the two lawn openings, the limestone connector, was just an east-west connect from one on the west to the east. The stem of it that you see today was added later by Goltras. It wasn't part of this original plan, but the backyard, so to speak, garage, vegetable garden. At one point there was an orchard back there. There's a little footnote on that plan that says orchard. So I think it was really intended as just it was production back there.
That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question. Kathy, I think I see on the plot that there's a 10-foot utility easement that runs parallel with the driveway, planned driveway, is that right? And that's
I can help with that.
yeah.
Because we're trying to keep the corridor for the stem compact, that 10-foot utility easement, we didn't want to make a 30-foot wide driveway corridor, but that would be allowing utilities to be directionally bored from on Wensia to go through on the easement area or through the easement area, but we didn't want to have the stem take away from the auto court of lot 1. So it would just be an easement for conveying utility. It's not there today, but it would be to serve the second lot, lot 2.
So that would be the plan, is all utilities, sewer, water, electric, everything would come off of Onwentsia and travel to the back of the property?
I can't answer that with 100% confidence. There may be some utility, there's a utility easement on the very south, east-west. There may be power, there may be cable that comes in from the south, but I think that sewer water comes in from the north. Does some of it go underneath the driveway? We haven't designed that yet.
And then the little buffer area or trees to block the headlights, is that part of this consideration, the petition, or is that just something that will be put on the new buyer or the existing buyer?
What we've suggested in the staff report, and I will double check myself, is that direction be provided, detailed landscape plan shall be submitted, and that actually will be submitted to the Historic Preservation Commission, which I don't specify here, but I could. But it speaks specifically to assuring that that landscape plan details plantings that will occur on the east side of the driveway. So we can make that clearer that that will actually be subject to the Historic Preservation Commission's review and approval.
And that landscape plan then would be submitted by the buyer of the property?
Correct.
Okay. No further questions.
Commissioner?
So building off that, but on the west side with the landscaping, like, you have these beautiful, like, I don't know what kind of, they're not trees, but they like form a little pathway underneath and stuff like that, and it looked like the driveway would have to take out half of those, right? So will you make sure like there's landscaping and all that there, like if they live or they die? I don't know if they would make it because I don't know what kind of.
You're correct in both. That little tunnel between evergreens, half of it, the east half would go away, and the west half, we have enough room to re-landscape up against the remaining second tier. It's a double hedge through there that surrounds the auto court, and so that we would want to reestablish that hedge.
Okay, and building off of that, I saw big, like, wires and all that when it was with the double head, like, big wires and all that stuff. So are you gonna
Those are
taking
irrigation.
care of all that? I don't know what they were, whether
I think
they
they're
were
water pipes.
cable or, I have no idea what they were. But they were big
Water pipes.
tubes. Were they water pipes?
Water
Thanks.
pipes, yeah.
But so you'll dig those underground and,
Those would have to be, right, those would have to be relocated.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes, question for Ms. Haniak. Back to condition 1 in the staff report, which I think is very important, landscaping along the side of the property. You made a reference to a landscape plan to be submitted and approved by the city arborist. What criteria will the arborist apply as he makes that decision?
And actually, I should have added, and I will add it at the direction of the commission, that landscape plan will also be subject to review by the Historic Preservation Commission. So they will review the entire plan for this site, which will include the driveway, the hardscape of the driveway, any landscaping. But we do engage the city arborist in all of the reviews that go to the boards and commissions. So the city arborist will verify that what's proposed is an appropriate species. Sometimes he knows of some species that for some reason or another are not currently thriving. We'll assure that it's planted at an appropriate size so that it will have a better chance of continuing to thrive. We'll assure that it's a species that is appropriate in size and shape as it matures for that narrow area. The city arborist will walk the site and often consult with the consultants of the owners, the future owners of the rear property.
Thank you. I think what I'm looking for is some assurance that the landscaping will be sufficient to make sure that headlights from vehicles entering or exiting the property don't kind of splay across the neighboring house and grounds. And will that be, I assume that is part of the consideration.
At the Plan Commission's discretion, we can enhance this condition to specifically speak to that. I do, in the recommended condition, there is language that says careful attention shall be paid to protecting and preserving healthy trees near the driveway and to minimizing the impact of headlights on the neighboring home. So if the Plan Commission approves that condition or chooses to enhance it, we would forward that condition to the Historic Preservation Commission to help direct them in their review and really focus them on that particular issue.
I mean, I know I personally would be in favor of a word stronger than minimize. Eliminate or prohibit or something that is more aggressive, because I don't think it's fair to that property to have headlights displayed across their grounds.
It is difficult to say eliminate.
I do think maybe, and I'll just jump in here, Commissioner Thomas, that if we subject it to the review by the city arborist and by the Historic Preservation Commission, we are entrusting not only the city arborist, but also the HPC to mitigate the concerns that you have, and I'm sure other fellow commissioners have, which would be reducing the impact as much as possible on the east side of the property.
So we can be confident the arborist and historic commission will have this issue on their agenda, and they're gonna be looking to protect the neighboring property.
Absolutely. That's their objective and goal would be to provide the best balanced approach for the property owners in question that they're reviewing.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? At this point, it's an opportunity for public testimony. Please, I see somebody coming forward. Please come to the podium and state your name for the record, please, into the microphone.
My name is Bill Canopiotis. I'm the property owner to the east.
Thank you. They've all been in.
I've met with the owners, and big picture, I have no issue with a re-subdivision. I've been trying to sell this property. Mark's firm has had it for a while. Mark's brother's firm has had it for a while. I can't sell my property. It's a troubled site. It's an old home. And I'm doing it myself now that the market's gotten better. I'm seeing the site plan for the first time, and Paul, thanks for pushing on the issue, and a few of you pushed the issue on the driveway. I don't want any more hardship for me to sell this asset. Otherwise, you're gonna have a vacant house sitting in Lake Forest on, mine's about 3 acres. I may have to come and try and re-subdivide to sell it. I'm looking at anything and any way to get out of this financial disaster my divorce put me in. I had it sold in '22. Someone was gonna demolish it. We got approval from the Historic Preservation Committee here. I lost the buyer. So I'm trying to sell it as is for someone to come in and renovate it, make a beautiful estate home on 3 acres. Someone could come and try and knock it down again and come before all the bodies. Or third option is to re-subdivide it. But I would just ask, however you do it with the owners, that there's a commitment from the owners here or the buyers to really screen that driveway. I'm used to no lights back there. I rented this house to a very celebrity person from LA who grew up in Lake Forest. I'm not gonna mention his name. He comes here every year with his family, and I rent my home to him because of privacy issues, and it's a secured site. And I don't want any more hardship on the future buyer, whether they knock it down, whether they renovate it, or whether I come to you and re-subdivide it, which might be the best answer to get out of this mess that I'm in. And I think it might be more valuable as 2 lots versus a 1930s home that needs about $1 million to bring it back into some livable condition. So the property drive is right on they're right on top of each other. So there's no setback like a typical driveway. So you gotta be really careful, and leaving it up to an arborist or some third party to approve future plans, I'd be a little concerned. I'm a commercial real estate developer, and I've been through many presentations about getting office buildings approved in the suburbs. So putting something in the hands of a third party is a little concerning. So you guys got to be very careful here. And you can only screen it with, there's a great hedge right now, and I don't know if that's staying or going, but it's a beautiful arborvitae hedge. But something like that all the way to the back is the only way to stop the lighting from cars and the privacy, because that's coming right by my house. The driveway is going to be within 30 feet of my sunroom. If someone buys it as is, they're going to renovate that sunroom into a big family room. So I asked this body and this commission to be real, approve it. I have no problem with this approval here, but the screening, the lighting, I've been dealing with construction behind me on Foster to my east, and you guys did a good job with the neighbors to the east of me, and they've been good with me. I've been good with them. You made them buffer their addition with their garage, really nice with some big blue spruce that works really well. So I'm asking you to do something very similar on the west side of my property. And I think, you know, I met the owners, we walked both sites, and I think you got terrific owners here taking over the property. It's a great estate home. I knew the neighbor. But it just has to be done very carefully, that driveway.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else here this evening? Yes, please, come forward. Please state your name.
My name is Lisa Staten, and I live directly behind them at 220 Foster. And I had the property that this guy was talking about that people had to live through my build. And I have a couple questions here. We've been talking about the east side. I want to talk about the south side, which is my property. A question. On this map is what we're trying to preserve, that walkway?
I'm not sure.
I mean, on this diagram,
Why don't we respond as part of,
We can,
After
if you
public
want to
comment?
make your statement and then we can
Okay,
respond to
okay,
that, that would
that makes
probably be
sense.
easier
I'm just
procedurally.
going off what I'm looking here, and I'm wondering, can't the property go north, the second lot, go north a little bit? I'm thinking like 20 feet to encompass that whole walkway, the flagstone path or something, just to make the lot a little bit larger. I'm going from the standpoint, looking at this lot, can anyone tell me what size square footage house is allowed on that lot right now, given what it is? 4,500?
We don't have those calculations in the lot, or the house that is on the drawings here. That's just for depiction of what a house would look like there.
Okay, I'm just thinking with the size of the lot, I know the city's really particular about how big the house can be, given the square footage. And what I see here with this given diagram, I know it's just a illustration of a house, their backyard is 20 feet. You can't really count the buffer zone as their backyard. So I'm just curious that, I mean, hopefully whoever builds there realize how small their backyard's gonna be. So I was just taking that into consideration, that I think the whole thing should be moved a little bit north to give that second house a little bit larger backyard. You don't hang out in your front yard, you hang out in the backyard. So that's my only observation about what's back here. And, I mean, that's a question I have.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
Okay?
Thank you very much. Any other public comments? Seeing no other public comments. Are there any other final comments or questions? Maybe I'll turn to petitioner, and maybe the petitioner can address some of the public comments that just came forward.
Thank you. The buffer question from the first gentleman, I think that that's something that we have provisions in your condition to address. Right now, I've shown arborvitae hedge, which is what's out there now, and I think that that will go through the motions with the city, with the arborist, with making sure that we have the appropriate quantity, the size, the species of plant material that will provide for an effective buffer to your property, sir. So I think that that would be the intent here, and it has been documented, and I feel that we've done something here that won't diminish the value of the neighboring property and provide value to the proposed second lot as a route to get to their property. Relative to Ms. Stanton's comment about the enlarging the lot, we looked at a number of different configurations to try and address how do we provide a reasonable lot in the south part of the property, and every one of them encumbered the Jens Jensen garden. The boundary, if you've been through the property, the boundary is essentially the connector limestone flagstone walkway that connects between. And we felt that because it was part of the original plan, was really paying tribute to the lot one, the existing house, but also providing still a comfortable setting, not cramped for the second lot. The rear yard in this depiction, and this is a sample house, it's not I don't have square footage numbers either, but to the west of that, which is a nice exposure, that's over 200 plus feet. That would have a generous rear yard for that second lot. So the landscape buffers around all four sides, I think in addition to the 50-foot building setback, really do provide consideration for the neighbors, as well as making sure we've got a balance for what would be the proposed lot. I don't want this proposed lot to come back in and say, oh, we've got a difficult lot to develop. I think that was one of our charges here, is to make sure that we have a marketable lot as an outcome of this that's respectful of the neighbors as well. So those are my rebuttals.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any comments from the city?
Yes, thank you. Based on Commissioner Thomas's question and based on testimony of the neighbor, I have a suggestion, probably not very well worded, but the concept for a modified condition 1, something like a detailed landscape plan shall be submitted for the area to the east of the driveway to lot 2. To the extent possible, the driveway alignment shall be refined to angle headlights away from the neighboring property to the extent possible. There may be some slight adjustments in the angling, and then going on, something like the Historic Preservation Commission is directed to pay careful attention to protecting and preserving healthy trees near the driveway and to directing headlights away from the neighboring home. Landscape plan shall also be subject to review and approval by the city's certified arborist to assure consistency with the Historic Preservation Commission's approval and appropriate size at time of planting, or something to that effect. I think adding in the studying and perhaps refining the alignment and making it clear that the Historic Preservation Commission will be involved in reviewing that landscape. And then I did want to, I did a quick calculation. The lot as currently proposed at 60,483 square feet would allow a house of 6,638 square feet. A 60,000 square foot lot is very common throughout Lake Forest. In fact, most of our lots are about that size, acre and a half. as I mentioned earlier, the setbacks in the code, the required setbacks are 50 feet for a lot in depth, whether it's 60,000 or 66,000. So the 50-foot setback would not change. If the lot was expanded to fully comply with the lot and depth size of 66,000 square feet, a house of up to 7,080 square feet, a larger home would be permitted on the property with those same 50-foot setbacks. So that's just in response to a question that was raised. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions from commissioners to staff or petitioner?
Yeah, a couple.
Commissioner Davey, please.
So for, just to address what you just said, Kathy, so regardless of whether or not we approved a variance here, whether this lot were cut right down the middle with the 50-foot setback, you could put a house where this house is modeled to be placed. And I'm just saying that with respect to anyone who's living on Foster and questioning the proximity, that's within the code, right?
Correct. No variances requested for the setback from the south property line, or from any of the property lines.
Okay. Second question is the 5.5 feet setback on the driveway as currently proposed. I mean, that's within the code as well. There's no variance required for that.
There's no variance required for that, no.
Okay. And then I guess third comment, I guess is, I mean, it seems like the whole heft or thrust of this variance is that we're trying to protect something that's unique, this Jensen garden, and specifically all the rooms within it. It's very unique, I would imagine, up and down the North Shore. It's certainly unique to, I think in Lake Forest, there are, you know, whatever pieces and parts of Jensen, but like less than a dozen, and certainly not many, more than a couple, that have like this level of, you know, garden intact at this point. So the whole point here is we're trying to protect something that's very unique, and we're trying to keep it intact. That's the thrust, that's the heft, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
This is a one-of-a-kind property.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Any other questions, commission members, to staff or the petitioner? At this time, the public testimony will now be closed. And now we have open discussion amongst ourselves. I'll start to my far left. Maybe Commissioner Thomas, starting with you. Do you?
Yeah, thank you. I'm supportive. I have very supportive of what the petitioners are trying to do with the property and preserve the gardens. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think my only issue with this at all is to make sure that the neighboring property to the east doesn't get diminished. It's just fundamentally unfair for that to happen. And I like the proposed change to the condition that the Cerniak outlined, but I think we should do everything possible to make sure there's no diminishment of neighboring properties.
Thank you. Commissioner Nearing?
I agree with that. In terms of the driveway, this has to go through plans and the city engineer, and maybe they can design the driveway where it doesn't cut the way it's cutting there as well, and give more room, so there could be more landscaping there on the east side in terms of that. And, you know, if they look at that, maybe they can think of some other ideas to make it move or shift or what have you, and help with the lights. But the 50-yard setback and all that, it'll be very private, like you're not gonna really know the houses there, especially with the 30 feet of landscaping and all that. I mean, you're not gonna see that house back there, I don't think, so. That's just my opinion.
Commissioner Pickus?
Yeah, I'm supportive of this petition as well, for a lot of the reasons that have already been stated. Yeah, I think we need to pay attention to the driveway. Just a fun fact is I developed a lot and depth property myself about 20 years ago and had the same issue with my neighbors. And we were able to figure it out one way or another, so it's doable. So yeah, I think that this is a real gem, needs to be preserved as much as possible, so I'm supportive of the plan.
Thank you. And in the sake of sharing, I'll share with the commissioners and those that are here. I had the pleasure of working on this property as part of a landscape crew with the Gultras 41-plus years ago during the summer. So I'd like to think that I added to Jensen's gardens, but I don't think I can take that credit. These hands really are not gardening hands. But with that said, I certainly understand and respect and support what's being proposed here this evening, especially when you look at it from the simple fact that, you know, you could just very simply, it's a square lot, you could draw the line down the middle and truly ruin the historic nature of the gardens, but get certainly the same result of two lots. And I think the special attention, as Commissioner Thomas has pointed out, to protecting the neighbor to the east, I think we can achieve that, and I think we can put that in the proposal here this evening. So I'm supportive. Commissioner Moorhead.
I'm inclined to support it as well. It appears to satisfy the variance criteria, and the only comment I'd make is that I respectfully disagree with staff on the hardship issue. Because it appears that, you know, when the garden was constructed in 1928, it wasn't historic. That was present day, and it became historic over time as we as a community deemed these items of historic value. And so the hardship, in my view, is not self-created by the property owner or prior property owners. So it seems that all the criteria are satisfied, including that one.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Commissioner Pasquesi.
I agree with everything previously said and fully supportive of this petition.
Okay, so do we have a motion for a tentative and final approval of a two-lot subdivision of the property at 195 East Onwentsia for a variance from a lot in depth minimum lot size for the rear lot of a lot in depth subdivision to the city code, subject to the three conditions set forth in the staff report, plus Ms. Cerniak's condition that she said, and I'll try and see if I can give it a go here. The three conditions being a landscape plan with detailed plantings taking into consideration the east side of the driveway and aligning the driveway away from the property owner to the east, subject to review by the city arborist and the HPC, keeping in mind also there for the protection of the trees and the driveway alignment. Second condition being all fees paid, and the third for the entire future house being going before the HPC for review as well.
Can you repeat that? So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Thank you. Wow, I was so excited that we were done with all the items. I forgot. This is the opportunity in the public to come forward and address the Plan Commission on any matters not on the agenda. Is there anyone here this evening that is coming? Please.
My name's Matthew.
If you can come to the podium, please, sir.
My apologies. First time.
Please state your name.
My name is Matthew Eisler. My wife, Nicole Eisler. We are the owners of 195 East Onwentsia. And I've been waiting all night to say something to help. Apparently it's not needed. So I just wanted to thank you sincerely. And the property couldn't be in better hands. My wife studied architecture in college, very familiar with Jens and his contemporaries. And, it's just great. And we thank you very much for your consideration on this.
Thank you. And thank you for coming
that
forward, and
property's
we
in good
wish you
hands.
the best of luck in the development of that. Mr. and Mrs. Eisler. Anyone else coming before us? Anything else from staff? And maybe I'll ask a question about, and you know what I'm going to ask about the March or April meetings coming up? Anything?
At this point, we don't have anything pending. I don't know of anything coming up, and given the timeline, it's not likely we would get anything, get it reviewed in
If I could
time to
just
do
ask you
public
to-
notice.
Could I just ask you to keep, we're still in open session here, sorry, thank you.
So I do not expect you will have a March meeting. I will confirm that by the end of next week, but it would be unusual for something to come in a state that it's complete enough to move forward. I know of nothing out there,
Thank you.
and nothing was continued, so
Okay.
you get a gold star.
Nothing else from anybody on the commissioners, or a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Ooh, my brownies in here.
Brownie time.
I know. Got my brownies.
John, here you go. Thank you.
Ah,
I appreciate it, yep.
Yeah, no worries.
Nice job.